From South Carolina Public Radio, this is the South Carolina Lede. I'm your host, Gavin Jackson, and this episode was recorded on June 9th, 2025 from South Carolina Public Radio Studios here in Columbia. On this episode of The Lede, we look at some action happening this week in the Statehouse.
Interesting.
I know, it's off-season, but we're still doing things up there. We also recap the findings of the latest Winthrop poll.
Data!
And we hear about a new gas-fired energy plant that Duke Energy is proposing in the Upstate. We have an exclusive with Duke Energy Carolina's president, Tim Pearson. That's right, folks. And the Russ McKinney, of course. And we begin bringing you stories from our Voices Collected series commemorating the 10-year anniversary of the Mother Emanuel AME Church shooting. Also, this is my final reminder. You will remember that we are having a live taping in Aiken at Good Girl Brewing on June 12th at 6 p.m. with myself, reporter Mayan Schechter, and special guest, Senate Majority Leader Shane Massey. It starts at 6:30, but get there at 6, have a beer, maybe talk to us, but don't talk to me too much. It's going to ruin my flow. Just kidding. We'll see you guys there at Good Girl Brewing in Aiken on June 12th at 6 p.m. Go to southcarolinapublicradio.org to RSVP. It's free, but we want to know that you're coming. Get your little name tag. If you can't come, you have to call us. That's the rules. Them's be the rules. And we know that we got some of our leaders coming. We're excited to see you guys. But if you can't make it, give us a shout at 803-563-7169. Let us know where you want us to come next. Hint, Rock Hill, September. But say a different one, okay? Because we're already going to come back to, we love going to Rock Hill, don't we?
Yes.
So 803-563-7169. All right, let's look at what's on tap for this week. And again, we're talking about the Statehouse. Even though we're post-sine die, there are still a few meetings going on, including the South Carolina Education Oversight Meeting, which took place on Monday this week. There is a Suicide Prevention Coalition meeting Tuesday at 10 a.m., and on Wednesday, there are two meetings, including a House Insurance Rate Review Ad Hoc Committee looking at insurance fraud. You know, we're talking tort reform, we're talking insurance carriers, it's all related. And shortly after that is a House Legislative Ethics Committee meeting. Up in Congress, well, they're in session, working on that mega bill in the Senate.
Mega.
And on the economic calendar on Wednesday, we get inflation data for May with new CPI numbers. And for your calendar, the Federal Open Market Committee meets on June 18th. That's next week to talk about interest rates. We can get one more May joke in there. May the CPI numbers be with you. Now, I want to start off our podcast with some new polling data that we wanted to bring to you in the last pod, but someone made me cut it. I'm looking at AT. That's okay. Winthrop University political science professor Dr. Scott Huffman released new results from his latest Winthrop poll. And the poll found that over half of South Carolinians think tariffs placed on imports from other countries will end up costing the country more than it brings in. In fact, 87% of South Carolinians think it is very or somewhat likely that higher tariffs will result in them paying more for the products they buy. 62% believe higher tariffs will result in the creation of more U.S. manufacturing jobs. But you guys will remember we had that information from the Richmond Fed in our last podcast talking about how businesses are already changing because of these tariffs raising prices, dealing with capital investment, maybe holding off on hiring folks. We saw that in the jobs numbers as well. But Huffman noted that, quote, there is a fundamental disconnect between the political parties when it comes to tariffs. This even extends to how the tariffs will function with respect to whether they will eventually be financially beneficial or detrimental. Nearly all Democrats and a solid majority of Republicans think that tariffs will result in higher prices. But combined with other results here, it seems clear that Republicans see it as a matter of short-term pain bringing a long-term benefit, while Democrats see it as a baked-in aspect of tariffs, quote. But beyond tariffs, immigration was another topic that Huffman polled on, with findings that include 49% think welcoming immigrants into the country has been equally good and bad. Remember, we're a nation founded on immigrants. Now, 68% think that the fact that the U.S. population is made up of people of many different races and ethnicities strengthens American society. So 68% of folks think that it's good that we have a diverse society here in America. And we can also look at the popularity contest. The most popular politicians in South Carolina are, of course, President Donald Trump with a 45% approval rating, Governor McMaster at 42%, and Senator Tim Scott at 41%, with Senator Lindsey Graham at 34%. Remember, this is a general population survey, so doesn't mean he's going to lose, guys. This is not likely voters. This is Democrats, Republicans, Independents, all in one survey. And also, primaries, well, they're not the most popular turnout elections, but we're going to change that because we're going to spend all year talking about primaries and how that's an important time for you to vote. That's on my vision board for 2026. And we got a state vibe check.
Okay.
When asked about how things are going in the state, 45% of you said things are headed in the right direction. Now, again, we're talking about a general population survey here. We're talking about 1,211 respondents, and these responses were collected between May 23rd and May 31st with a margin of error of plus or minus 2.8%. Next up, you will remember that I had to stop writing that. But you guys have to remember, right? One of the biggest issues lawmakers debated and dealt with this legislative session was involving energy generation in the state. As we and other states face growing demand for energy, you guys can't get enough of it. Yes, there is population growth and economic development in the form of businesses and manufacturers coming to our state, but data centers continue to be the primary driver of this need for more energy. So on Monday, Duke Energy announced it was starting the process to move forward with a new gas-fired plant in the Upstate. Once completed in 2031, if things go according to plan, the plant will add 1,400 megawatts of baseload electricity. Duke Energy South Carolina President Tim Pearson exclusively spoke with the Russ McKinney and myself on Monday, shortly after the news broke.
We first started serving Anderson County in 1951, so we have a long history there. Our last baseload generation asset was at W.S. Lee in Anderson County, so it's just been a great partnership, and we feel like this is the right place. And it's a large gas plant, a hydrogen-capable gas plant, which means that it does give us the opportunity to mix hydrogen with natural gas going forward as that technology evolves, which is a slightly cleaner source. And it's a 1,400 megawatt plant, so it's very substantial, and we feel like it's in the right place. There's a community there that's been supportive of us. We don't have to do a lot of transmission upgrade. It's in a site that really makes sense, and we have a lot of the infrastructure we need, including the infrastructure to get the gas there, which is obviously exceptionally important. So, we looked at a lot of sites. We knew we needed a plant. We knew we wanted it in South Carolina. We really did our due diligence over the last few years to make sure we found the right spot.
The passage of the Energy Security Act this past legislative session will help with the timeline on this project, Pearson said, which will take about 6 years. Now, a big component of that law was to allow the state-owned utility Santee Cooper to partner with Dominion for a new 2,000-megawatt gas-fired plant in Canadas. But this is different. This is Duke Energy, and they're going to benefit from the construction timeline being more efficient.
I think the Energy Security Act was a phenomenally important piece of legislation, and it did all sorts of things that will enable us and some of the other utilities in the state to really meet the moment that we're in while still protecting ratepayers and customers, which I think that's a balance that's exceptionally important. So our plan now is we need to go through the regulatory processes. So we've announced our intention to file with the Public Service Commission for a Siting Act permit, a certificate of public need, convenience and need, which we'll do later this year and go through all those processes. And ideally, if things play out as they will, this will be in service in 2031. So that's our timeline as now. We'll start construction ideally in 2027 and move forward. And we're prepared for it. We have the supply chain is set up. We have the turbines that we need, sitting there for us. So we're really excited about it. And I think what the Energy Security Act will make this, I think, a more efficient project, which ultimately is a good thing.
Now, you just heard Tim mention turbines.
Yes.
I know, really cool, right?
Yes.
But here's the fun thing.
Yes.
Duke Energy and GE Vernova announced a partnership in April for the utility to procure up to 11 state-of-the-art gas turbines, which are manufactured where? #that Greenville. You guys got it. You got it. They're really cool. Actually, I want to go see them. I want to go see one. Put it on the vision board. We got to go see those bad boys. Now, Duke's plans for the facility would be on nearly 200 acres located on Highway 81 South near True Temper Road in Anderson County. Now, there's already substantial utility infrastructure in the area to help support the new plant. That's thanks to the W.S. Lee station, which has been around since 1951, but was updated in 2018 with 1,000 megawatts of capacity. In fact, in 2014, Duke retired 2 1960s-era coal-fired units and converted a third to natural gas. Fun fact, Duke no longer operates any coal-fired plants in the state. Now, Duke Energy operates 6 of the 7 nuclear reactors in our state. The 7th is licensed to Dominion Energy, and that's VC Summer, the OG boondoggle, if you will. But I asked Tim about the future of nuclear in the state and if Duke will be adding any reactors anytime soon.
Certainly something that we're intently looking at. I would say, nuclear was part of our IRP that we filed. There's a lot of talk about new nuclear technology, or what a lot of folks refer to as SMRs, or small modular reactors. That technology is still, in its infancy, and so we have a lot of folks trying to understand that. And we just applied, for example, for a grant with GE and with TVA, the Tennessee Valley Authority, from the DOE to further that technology down the line, and also large reactors. And so, Duke has the largest nuclear fleet in the country, right, of any utility. We certainly have done it for a long time, and I think we do it quite well and safely, and it's been a tremendous asset for us, and I think it's certainly something we're looking to in the future. We do have a license with the Nuclear Regulatory Commission at W.S. Lee site in Chester County, so it's an option for us, and one we're very much considering. It's something that's clean, it's a tremendous amount of power, but it does take some time to build. So I think it's in our future, but this plant that we're talking about today will help get us there.
Now, I think some people here are like, oh, we need more energy. Is there a worry that we don't have enough? I understand these fears and these concerns about potential rolling blackouts or the like. And Pearson did say that back in December 22 with Winter Storm Elliott, it did show some vulnerabilities in the system that Duke buys power from.
Duke's been around since 1901, so we're 124 years, and we have a system that has taken that long to build. And over the next 15 years, our projections are that we will have to double the size of our system across the Carolinas. So what took us 120 years to build, we will build in 115. So it's a big challenge, and we saw Winter Storm Elliott and some of the issues there. And one of the problems that wasn't a South Carolina problem or a Duke problem specifically, it was a Southeast problem. And one of the issues that I think we're trying to make sure we get out ahead of is the fact that the tight margins that exist on the grid in terms of how much power we have, they're not South Carolina specific, right? They're our neighbors too, right? So that was a storm that impacted Georgia and Tennessee and North Carolina and South Carolina and all the way up through, Virginia. And what that means is when those issues happen or those events happen, there's not a lot of power out there for us to buy to help supplement. And one of the issues that happened at Winter Storm Elliott is that we had agreements in place to buy power from a little bit further up northeast at PJM, and it didn't come through. And so, one of the things that we are trying to do in response to that is to make sure that we're not subject to, that we control our own destiny. Right, and making sure that our reserve margins are appropriate and that we are building and owning and controlling here in South Carolina the means to serve our load, in concert with Dominion and Santee Cooper, who we have a great relationship with and move power back and forth all the time so that we don't have to rely on other places. So if events like that happen again, we know that we can take care of it.
So just some more insight there on that energy debate that we heard so much about during the first part of this year, and we will continue to look at this important topic in the coming months. So stay tuned, all you energy heads. Do you have a favorite baseload number? 803-563-7169. But we're moving on to a very serious topic now, and this is a segment that's an edited interview from our Voices Collected series. That's SCETV's outreach initiative to commemorate the 10-year anniversary of the Mother Emanuel tragedy and the voices of those directly and indirectly affected by the shooting. Don Lundy was the head of the Charleston County EMS the day of the Mother Emanuel shooting on June 17, 2015. I interviewed Don recently down at White Point Garden, and in the brief time that I spoke with him about this horrific tragedy that he hasn't spoken about much in the past 10 years, he struck me as the kind of guy that you want around when things go down. A steady hand, someone who has been through a lot during his time, but that day challenged him like so many of us.
It was as typical a day as you could have. It was a Wednesday, nothing that stood out. And my wife and I had dinner, and we were sitting in the family room, kind of going through the day, her day and my day. This one, I'll never forget it, the mass casualty page said, we have a report of 7 people shot in the basement of Mother Emanuel. And the number was wrong at the time. I looked at Barbara and I said, I got to go. But I'll be back in a minute. I mean, that's crazy. In a mass casualty, there's lots of radio traffic as people are positioning themselves. First unit is on scene. Everybody kind of calms down for a minute. and waits for them to come back and confirm or say, never mind. I got halfway there, and I realized nobody said a word since that first unit was there. And I remember crossing Sam Rittenberg and saying, that's not a good sign. When I pulled up, the crews had already set up the mass casualty program that we have. And as I went behind the crime scene tape, the first crew that was there was bringing out the one patient that we took to the hospital. And I just briefly saw the wound and knew that, it'd be a miracle if that patient came through. By that time, our crew had gone through the room and ascertained that all 9 were dead. And once that happens, it changes from a response situation to a crime scene situation, and our job is to step out the same way we stepped in, not touch anybody, not touch anything beyond what we did. It was 20 minutes before I realized that this is where Senator Pinckney preached. And I thought, now I go back to that picture and I said, well, I hope he wasn't there. It's Wednesday night, what's the chance of the minister not being there? And all that kept going through my head is, this can't be happening. We can't be treating or pronouncing 9 people in the basement of the Church of God. And I didn't use the word evil then, but that's what it was. Evil went into a church and killed 9 people.
Don recounts the hardest part of the situation and when it really hit him what he was responding to.
These are men and women who spend their life training to save people, and there's nothing any of us can do. And that's some helplessness that rides with you for a long time. And that, I guess the hopelessness of the moment grabbed me for about 200 yards. And then the little man in my head said, straighten up here, we gotta, so we filed that for later. I know when I got home, my wife said, they've got some stuff on the news, is it true? And I said, yeah. She says, what's that about? And I said, I don't have the foggiest notion. We spent the last, I guess it was 2.5 or 3 years, we had some calls, nothing like that.
The community coming together throughout the entire tragedy is something that stuck with Don and resonated with him in a way that showed him what makes Charleston different from other places.
Throughout the entire situation, from the first time we got the call, through the funeral, through the memorial service, we didn't have 9 black people shot in the church. We had 9 Charlestonians shot in the church. Now, they happened to be black, but the community didn't care. They were our people, and some evil came in and shot them. And I think the compassion that you saw in this city would not have happened in most other cities. Here, people would ask everybody whether you were involved in it or not. You doing okay? Doing all right? The day of the memorial service, 12,000 people can sit in the gymnasium. About 21,000 show up. I remember the compassion, and I still think this is a different city. I check the news twice a day, and all I wanted to know is, what's the answer, and did you capture anybody? Do we have an answer to this? And when the answer finally got there, I was flabbergasted. I mean, evil's evil. Every time I go by that church, I pull over for a minute and I just look at it. I knew the church has been filled since that day, lots. But just to see it for me and to realize evil didn't win.
This has been Voices Collected. Contribute your memory, your story, your voice to this initiative by visiting scetv.org/Emanuel9. Welcome to the wind down section, our little break from the news. We're glad you're here along with AT Shire lead podcast producer.
Hello, everyone. Yes, hello. Good
You're going to see him
You're
on
gonna see
Thursday.
Hopefully I have a better day than today only because I'm wearing my second pair of pants today because I spilled my whole lunch on it today.
Oh, no. What?
Yep.
You didn't tell me this happened.
Dropped a sandwich on my lap. It was pretty good.
Open face sandwich.
It became open face
You know
pretty
what I
quickly.
mean.
You know what I mean? Due to gravity,
Could you salvage the sandwich?
Did I eat it? Yeah, I ate it.
Okay.
I ate it.
Okay.
Yeah, I ate it.
Yeah.
It was a lap sandwich, but I did eat it,
I was like, that'd be the biggest tragedy if it was all gone.
The worst part is I just got a napkin and I didn't put it in my lap. Not that it would have saved me. This was messy. It opened up like a book. It was bad. But anyway, Gavin, it's not about me. Okay? We got a call. We got a little call if you're ready.
Yeah.
Okay, here you go. You said you're ready. Here we go.
Sandwich related.
Hey, Gavin and AT. This is Kathy from the Grand Strand calling about your slop conversation, especially the first one, where AT apparently took a swipe at magic erasers, which I personally think are great. So it got me wondering, AT, what's on pre-cooked lasagna noodles? Thanks for a great show. Bye.
Kathy, thank you for calling. And honestly, I bet you that man wished he had a magic eraser at the time of the sandwich incident.
Okay, Kathy, let me start with magic eraser, okay?
Magic.
I'm not taking a swipe at the efficacy of magic erasers, okay? I think that they work. I think we need to think about how well they work, what they're doing, and the fact that you have skin contact mostly with those.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't do it in the same way that I wouldn't use dry shampoo that you spray in your hair. Think about the science that goes into them, okay?
The magic.
That the magic is not magic. It is hard science
Chemicals.
that I don't think we should touch, Let's wear some rubber gloves.
Yes.
Okay, next up, the pre-cooked lasagna noodles. Gavin does
I've never heard of this before.
Gavin he's a purist. He only knows either fresh-made lasagna, he makes his own sheet himself, or he knows the normal lasagna noodles.
The hard ones, yeah.
That you cook, and then
You don't cook them. You just put them in the lasagna. You keep them hard.
That's what these new ones, the uncooked ones, are specifically made so you just put them in your lasagna.
And they finish cooking in there.
And they cook with the liquid.
I bet you that's because so many people put the hard ones in there. They think, oh, it's going to be fine. You got to cook them before.
You got to cook them a little bit. You got to par cook them, okay? You cook them like 2.5 minutes under whatever it says on the package. Then you put them in, okay? But
a slop.
Much like a magic eraser here, Kathy. There's too much science, There's too much
How does that work?
The greatest Italian scientist created this pasta.
That went French there. Sorry.
That was French. It's a love language.
Buongiorno.
It's a love language. We'll give it to them, folks. We love them, don't we, folks? I'm a purist in the way that I think even the dry noodles, the normal ones, the fresh pasta is even better than that. So, how far away from the good stuff can you get?
So I'm seeing Barilla, oven-ready lasagna.
Yeah,
they don't put the E. They put E in.
And
so
they're a different color.
Well, God knows what kind of ingredients go in here to make it shelf-stable, but then also just let it go.
It's more ashen colored. This is pale. It's weird.
Egg pasta. Maybe there's just something else in there.
I don't know. I don't hate it. Would I eat the lasagna? I would.
We'll have to do a taste test here.
I bet I could tell if you gave me fresh than the normal.
We're gonna know.
I would love to do a lasagna vertical for work. That would be amazing for me personally. But I would try it, Kathy. If you are an evangelist of these pre-cooked noodles, call in and explain to me why.
Well, I think for the working parent, which you'll find out soon enough, this might be something that comes in handy. But at the same time, you're willing to take the time. Oh, since we're on the topic, I want to bring this up. I've been meaning to bring this up. It's one of my things I always think about and I forget to talk about.
Love that. Yeah.
When I'm making, it can be any number of dishes that I add lemon to. I buy the bag of lemon. I just love lemon so much. I love it.
Yeah.
But I love it so much that sometimes you want more. You want that zest, but more than zest.
You're
zest
a lemon
gets
addict.
lost. So what I do...
You're squeezing.
Not just squeezing, my brother.
Oh, I know.
I'm dicing the baby up, and I'm throwing the whole lemon, peel and all, right in my dish.
That's fine.
And it works great because it gives you the pop, it gives you the zest, but it doesn't taste bitter when
you fish it out at the end.
No. You keep it all and you
You're eating it
dice
whole.
it up, and you don't even notice that you're eating the lemon like that.
Oh,
And
this
it's
is weird.
Perfect.
actually.
It's
This is
totally
strange.
weird, but
This
it
is
works.
strange. I mean, I'm interested.
If you bake it long enough, if you're doing it on the stovetop, it becomes soft enough that you don't even taste like the peel
Yeah, you're
and the pith. It's all together. And
This
it's
is
just
weird.
pop, pop,
This
pop.
is weird.
It's a Gavin cooking hack.
I like it.
If you
I'm
love
interested.
lemon like I do,
I
and
love
of
lemon.
course the whole jar of my capers, which I'm almost through, folks. We're talking 2 pounds of capers here.
It's big. If anyone's been to Costco and you see the capers there, it's
worth
big.
it.
It's big.
Well, compared to the little jar. Oh, here's your little jar of
This
capers.
measly bar.
Look
jar?
at this. What this little thing.
Disgusting. No, I'm a man. I need a giant jar.
Well, because I throw the like the lemon. The great thing about the capers is that you get that salty hit, and if you're bringing your lunch from home, you throw some capers in there so you can get that salt in there. Otherwise, the salt just kind of gets lost in the sauce. And
I love this guy. When you name these ingredients,
It brings you
I'm
joy.
running through my head what the dish could possibly be.
chicken. It's just chicken,
Top Chef style. Okay.
or chicken and spaghetti.
I can't picture what you could possibly be cooking besides a piccata.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much all. Well,
Is it
that's
a
'cause you're
piccata?
That's I mean it's
Chicken
chicken. So you can
piccata?
call it, what makes chicken piccata? Is it just the capers? Let's be
It's
real.
lemon and capers and a little bit of parsley.
Then I'm
Yeah.
Well, I don't do parsley. I don't believe in it.
I like the pop of the parsley at the end is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean I'd put cilantro. You know, I'm more of a cilantro guy than parsley. That's
There's
personal.
also a dish that I think you would probably like, and it's Italian. I don't know how to say it, but it's like lemon oglio or something, and all it is butter,
Yeah.
lemon, and olive oil.
I'm all about
and
that.
And you emulsify it, and you use the pasta water too.
Perfect.
And that's the whole thing. And you put Parmesan cheese in it too. It's great. But also,
Yeah.
I mean, before we go, real quick, lasagna pro hack.
Okay.
You cook your lasagna. You don't even eat it the day of. You put it in the fridge. It becomes like
So
an
good.
Italian terrine
Yeah.
that you then chop, and you can heat up in a cast iron skillet, like a sliced meatloaf almost.
Yeah.
That is where it's at. That's the idealist way to have a lasagna for me personally.
Is lasagna Italian meatloaf?
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
Well, I also just
I don't
make
think it's
Italian
controversial.
meatloaf when I'm too lazy to make the balls.
Yeah.
I just stuff it into a meatloaf pan and cook it in one.
You should have seen me try to make salmon cakes the other day. Let's say that for another day, but I got the breadcrumbs this time. They failed me. They did not help. It became just like, okay, we're just going to throw all this in a pan now. But
So you made a salmon bake.
a bake. Yeah.
Good for you.
Baked Alaska.
Hey, good
I think
for you.
that's right?
That's exactly right. Say the outro.
But no, really quick.
Okay,
Another
don't
one.
don't say it.
If you're doing a salad, I'm not doing dressings anymore. I'm doing my own dressings. And by that, I mean
It's easy.
lemon juice and olive oil. Call it a day. And I'm going to go buy a vinaigrette. You're making your own, folks. You could throw some
Do
vinegar
you
in
have
there if
your
want
own
to.
shaker, a glass shaker? Because
No, I'm
every
just-
Italian mom in New Jersey
I could.
has one.
Terry Jackson has one. I should inherit that, hopefully.
That's great.
But also, what I do is I save half of a lemon, full, not juiced yet, put it in my salad bowl when I'm taking it to work, squeeze it out when you're at work.
Now,
give it that
I'm going to
freshness.
ask you a personal question, Gavin. Are you rolling your lemons, bud? Are you rolling your
You're talking to
lemons?
the citrus guy and you ask, I microwave those, Matt. I'm just kidding. No. I roll them.
You gotta roll your lemons.
I gotta get all of. I gotta get the kinks out. I gotta go on my
activate
back. Yeah.
The oils on the skin of the lemon. That's how you zest it after you roll it. Anyway, Gavin, this is enough. This is
We've
enough.
reached it. The cooking pod that needed to happen, right?
Top Chef finals this week, folks. I'm gonna have to miss it because I'm gonna be in Aiken.
Aiken.
I'm gonna drive me crazy.
June 12th?
June 12th.
6 p.m.?
Good girl brewing. Okay, Gavin, say goodbye.
That's our FM drive time. Thanks for calling, Kathy. Be like Kathy. Call 803-563-7169. And if you can't, come to the live taping in Aiken. We'd love to see you guys. RSVP at southcarolinapublicradio.org. And you can always show us your appreciation by leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts and a rating. We love that too. You can stay up to date with the latest news on scetv.org and southcarolinapublicradio.org. And don't forget to support your local newspapers. The South Carolina Lede is a production of South Carolina Public Radio. Our producer is A.T. Shire. Amy Crouch is our supervising producer. Sean Birch is our executive producer. This podcast was produced with support from PRX and is made possible in part by a grant from the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, as well as listener contributions to the ETV Endowment of South Carolina. For the South Carolina Lede, I'm Gavin Jackson. Be well, South Carolina. I'm sure there's a dark science to it.
Exactly.
Is it a cap or a hat?